Right, today I'm going to be talking about how I, as a young person, how I'm able to move around and travel around the globe, experience all these different things without having to worry about money. So when I went to school studying accounting, and when I finished college, got my bachelor's degree in accounting, I entered the workforce like most everyone else, working in a white-collar job, like a lot of college graduates. And before I actually graduated college, during my time in university, went to the University of Nevada, Reno, I had spent a lot of time reading financial blogs. So in school, I would be studying business finance, financial accounting, while in my free time, I spent a lot of it doing my own research in personal finance. So by the time I actually finished college, it would be December of 2017, I think it's safe to say that I had a fairly solid understanding of basic finance. So with personal finance specifically, some of the basic things that I learned was to save 10% of your income at least. Me personally, I saved 50%. Know that credit card debt it can be potentially very dangerous, but credit cards can actually be your friend if you know how to use them, kind of like fire, which we'll talk about later. Additionally, to take those savings that you save from your income, you use it to invest wisely. So I had a theoretical knowledge of investing in the stock market and in rental real estate. Also had, from my time in studying accounting, a basic understanding of how to read financial statements. And in addition to that, I was lucky. So I finished college with minimal student loans, but 4 figures. So I was very lucky and very grateful about that in that regard. So I entered the workforce January 2018, and my colleagues, they found my behavior a bit strange. So what I mean by that, some of the ways I saved. So I didn't really have a social life, so that didn't have to do directly with wanting to save money. That's really just more my personality. Normally I like to keep to myself. And so since I didn't like to go out to socialize, it wasn't really my thing, and I didn't actively try to pursue that when I finished university and entered the workforce. I didn't have a partying or alcohol expense, so I saved on that. In addition to that, food. So I didn't eat out either, so that was a personal choice to save money, and had to do indirectly with me not really liking socialize, as normally people like to eat together when they eat out together when they want to socialize. So I didn't eat out either. So my breakfast would consist of cereal, lunch would be 2 Hot Pockets, and dinner would be a microwave meal that I would buy at the supermarket. And I remember oftentimes when I was at the supermarket buying these microwave meals, I would sometimes debate whether I should stick with the $2 to $3 microwave meal, or should I splurge this time and buy the $5 one. So food expense, it was very reasonable, though not very exciting. And some of the bigger expenses would be housing. So I lived in a studio apartment in a not so nice neighborhood in a sketchy-ish part of town in Reno, Nevada. And it was sketchy in that a lot of the buildings nearby, they were boarded up. Like the apartment complex next to the one I lived in, it was abandoned and boarded up and fenced off. And I remember there was a bowling alley nearby that was also closed down. So a lot of buildings nearby, they were closed down, and I would say the people in that neighborhood aren't the most affluent. And in my apartment, it was an unfurnished apartment. I didn't have cable, I didn't have internet, nor did I purchase it. So I saved on that. I just used Wi-Fi wherever I could get it, and I don't watch cable TV. And for furnishing the apartment, I remember that when I first moved in January 2018, the apartment complex that was adjacent, that was fenced off, was not fenced off yet. There was a lot of debris and old furnishings that were thrown outside. So I picked up a partially broken chair that was outside of that nearby apartment complex, and I took that and put it in my apartment, and that was my chair. And that was one chair, and it didn't have a table. And when I first moved in, I had brought my own sleeping bag, so I slept on the floor in a sleeping bag. Of course, my mom wasn't very happy about that, so eventually I got tired of her moaning about it, so I went on Amazon and I bought a cot, like something that you would sleep on when you go camping. Like, you know, kind of a frame. It's not really a bed, but you know, but you're slightly above the floor. So I slept on that. So that was my apartment. And one more thing that I saved on was I didn't have a car. And in Reno, Nevada, getting around without a car is quite difficult. So I walk to most places I need to go to. So for work, for example, I will walk 30 minutes to work. And whether it was during the summer when it was scorching hot in Reno, about 90, maybe 95 degrees, to the Sierra Nevada snowstorms during the winter. And I remember one time I was walking in 1 foot of snow. I think it was around January. So I was walking 1 foot of snow, stomping along, which it took longer than 30 minutes as it's kind of hard to walk without snowshoes in the snow. And there was a driveway that got cleared of the snow, but it was very icy. And as I walked past that driveway, it was quite steep. I slipped and fell right in front of a car. And that car patiently waited as I slowly tried to regain my footing. Eventually I crawled out of the way of the car back to the snow where I could actually regain my footing. So that was my commuting experience while I was in the workforce in America. So that's some of the ways I saved money. And in addition to that, which is what my colleagues found strange, they found me walking to work and not having a car. They found that strange, and how I didn't really have a social life, and I told them I just read books during my free time. They found that strange as well. Whereas I was reading books and writing a book as well. So that's how I spent my free time. And another activity that I like to do in my free time was, instead of reading financial blogs when I was in college, when I finished college, when I was in the workforce, I read travel blogs. I knew I didn't want to stay working in the workforce, working in corporate America. So I read a lot of travel blogs about really just going out and exploring the world. So they had to do with, for example, different types of travel accommodations, as well as information about visas, type of gear you should bring with you, which I did a video on the type of gear I brought and the research I put into that, which I will put up here. So I did that, and big one was, right, how to save money while you're traveling. The biggest one was travel hacking. So travel hacking, that's basically when you find different ways to try to stretch your budget, do things, take advantage of. Big one is credit card offerings, which is I did a lot of research on that. So basically a lot of the large banks such as Chase Manhattan, they offer a large incentive bonus, they call them mileage points. They give those to you if you sign up for one of their credit cards and you spend a certain amount, which I found very easy. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get those large rewards. And these sign-up bonuses that these credit card companies they offer, they are enough to fly from the US to Asia or US to Europe one way. So it's worth quite a bit of money, several $100s. So I didn't have to spend more money to get those bonus offers. And from the financial blogs I read in college, I was smart enough to not spend more than I needed and get hurt by compounding interest that works against you. Compounding interest can work for or against you. So what I did to meet the minimum requirement to get those large bonus offers from credit card companies was I set up a Venmo account. So Venmo is similar to PayPal, which you can use to pay other people. Set up a Venmo account and set up a Venmo account for my mom as well. So what I did was, my mom is not very tech savvy, so I did this all myself. So I set up my credit card to link to my Venmo account, and I paid my mom large amount of money, enough to meet the sign-up bonus, the minimum spend requirement. So I paid her with my credit card through Venmo, and once the money was in her account, I just transferred it back to my bank account. And minus credit card fees, basically I didn't spend any extra money to get these large sign-up bonuses, which these bonuses, they allowed me to travel from the US to Asia, and Asia back several times, as well as a couple times for my mom as well. And I also had quite a few airport lounge passes that allowed me to use the airport lounges without paying any extra money. So that helped me save quite a bit of money. And even when I was in Thailand, a lot of people think that you can't earn a lot of money in Thailand. As an English teacher, I found during my time there in Thailand that you can actually save quite a bit of money, especially as a foreigner. I learned that when I was teaching there, I was earning 3 times what the local teachers would earn. And that was just because of me being a foreigner, and there were not a lot of foreigners, supply and demand. A lot of local teachers, not a lot of foreign teachers, so the price of foreign teachers goes up significantly. So I got to get a larger salary than a lot of teachers there that were more qualified than me. I got more money than them. I earned more than them, larger salary. And at the same time, I lived like a local. So I stayed in an apartment complex. It was nearby school. I was the only Westerner that was staying in that apartment complex. So it was designed for Thai people. And me, with my much larger salary, I stayed there. Also ate at a street food, local restaurants. I also ate a lot at 7-Elevens, which we'll talk about later. And I still took taxis once in a while, which doesn't cost a whole lot, but normally I would just take metros called the BTS in Bangkok, where I taught in Thailand, the capital, Bangkok. So I took normally the metro called the BTS and the buses. And me living like a local but earning 3 times the salary of a local teacher, that allowed me to save close to $10,000 when I spent less than a year in Thailand. So I did all these things, and between these 2 jobs, I'm able to, right now, I have enough saved up so that I can live in developing countries for 2 to 3 years without having to worry about money, while I work on making something happen, as in finding a large business opportunity that I can capitalize on. So I'll have probably a 3-year time span before my funds run out, which I'm confident that I'll be able to figure things out. And at the same time, while I have these 3 years living in these developing countries, I'm able to explore the world, meet all these new people around the world, and explore different career options without having to worry about the economics of it, whether it's economically viable or not. That's not a worry that I need to have right now. And this was all at the cost of, having a car, some fancy food, and some nights out partying. And I don't know about you, but if you ask me, things that I've listed up to this point, things I did to save so that I can live for the next 3 years without having to worry about money. And I get to pursue my dreams. This trade-off of sacrificing all this stuff so that I can pursue experiences while I'm young, that's a price that I'm more than willing to pay. Alright, so rewinding back to Reno, Nevada, February 2019. That was when that is when I decided to send the most difficult email I've ever had to send in my life. The 3-week notice. And after that, next stop, Chiang Mai, Thailand.